Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Gulf Oil Lubricants Limited Q1 FY22 earnings conference call hosted by Yes Securities. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Nitin Tiwari from Yes Securities. Thank you, and over to you, Nitin.
Thank you, Ali. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Yes Securities, I welcome everyone to Gulf Oil Lubricants India Limited's 1Q FY22 earnings call. Today, we have the pleasure of having with us Mr. Ravi Chawla, CEO and MD of Gulf Oil, and Mr. Manish Gangwal, CFO of Gulf Oil India Limited. I shall now hand over the call to the management for their opening remarks, which shall be followed by a question and answer session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nitin. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the call for Gulf Oil Lubricants India Limited. On the outset, I'd like to wish all of you that you are safe and sound, and of course, we are getting out of the difficult situation of the pandemic with the vaccinations going up. Coming to the results, we are happy to share that in spite of the market closures in April and May, which impacted the retail market, we have notched up a revenue of 417 crores, which is 73% growth over last year. And the profit figures, if you take the PAT figures, are also at a 77% growth over last year, same quarter at 30.35. So happy to share that this trend has continued. Last 3 quarters of last financial year, we saw the volumes doing very well. The performance was good. Of course, April and May, we saw the retail markets, which is part of our business, impacted by about 40-50% in terms of partial closure. But happy to also report that June we are back to normal. And the April-May deficit, of course, showed in the volumes where we did 57% growth over last year quarter. So overall, we have done 27,500 KL versus last year, same quarter at 17,500. But again, as I mentioned to you, the June figures show us that we are back, the demand has gone up. The challenges, of course, in addition to the market closure, were related to the costs, and we have managed that. Price increases that have gone in place will get us back to the margin that we expect going forward. But this quarter, of course, the third element which impacted the margin was the B2C and B2B mix. Because of the market closure, the channel sales were lower, which were expected because of the markets not picking up stocks, secondary, tertiary sales getting impacted. So normally a ratio of B2C to B2B is 60-40, but this quarter it was 50-50. That also impacted the margin delivery. But must also add here that industrial and the other businesses we have on infrastructure, B2B, did very well, and again the rebound is very strong this time. The difference between last year and this year has been that last year the rural part really picked up, but this time I think in the second wave the rural has got impacted, both in terms of the opening of the outlets, and also agri production last year boomed a lot. It was going very well, and it's just a bit of a stop in this April-May, but again agri is also rebounding back very well. The company continues to actually focus on cost and margin management. Of course, Manish will talk a bit later on input costs, but we have seen that now with the price increases that we have put in place, 4 of them in the channel retail, and also the B2B and OEM prices have now been set up, and that will augur well for us to get us back in our normal margin range. Some of the other highlights of the quarter, like quickly mention, is that definitely we have seen that the brand investments which we were making, they've come back with the IPL coming, the brand visibility. We had a special campaign on talking about our new revamped motorcycle oil, Pride 40 Plus, which we bought in with another benefit of consistency, more protection, more performance, and that we did through a campaign with Dhoni and Chennai Super Kings. So that was building our brand again. We've also highlighted, in terms of the input costs, which started going up in the fourth quarter. So our margin management strategies are initiated. We are well in place on that. The battery business also maintained its performance and continued its profitable growth. and of course other parameters Manish will cover. I'd just like to mention that the campaigns we have done recently, because we are having now the Raksha Bandhan festival coming. So Gulf is the first company which has taken on the cause of vaccinating truck drivers. So we'll be vaccinating 10,000 truck drivers. Already started some days ago, and we'll complete it in the following week. Also, in terms of our employee safety, the second vaccination is a priority so that we can all be safe. And we also have getting back to work. Our plants, our depots are operating as we were also last year. So this is really an update on the last quarter. Hand over now to Manish to cover some of the other highlights. Manish, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. I think it's mostly covered, but just to add that the rising input cost or the base oil going up has been a very unprecedented scenario, and the cost of base oil moved up very, very sharply over the last 7 to 8 months. And as Ravi mentioned, the 4 price increases taken in a span of 6 months in retail is also unprecedented. But to maintain our margin management strategy, we have done it. Last one of that being in June. So the full effect of all that will start flowing in from this quarter. And OEM pricing is a quarterly variation based on the historical base oil global indices. So that also keeps in at every quarter up or down. So the major factor of, in addition to that, the cost of freights have gone up. Diesel is at all-time high. Packaging costs have gone up. So all those factors were there in the quarter. Third point which is there is the operating leverage, because if we do a volume which is below certain threshold, then obviously the overall EBITDA level impact comes in because certain fixed costs continue in terms of employee costs and other fixed costs. So that the incremental volumes from here on would straight away add to the bottom line without much variables in there. So all those factors have played in, but as we have been highlighting, June has been we were back to normalcy and continues to do that. And overall things are coming to quite a good shape again. That's what we are trying to highlight. Over to now, I think, Nitin for question answers, please.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touch-tone phone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star and 1 at this time. Participants, to ask a question, please press star and 1. The first question is from the line of Hemal, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I have a very quick question for you. Can you repeat the amount of liters you sold this quarter? And when you say it's got a normal this quarter back, what are your expectations for Q2?
So we have done 27,500 KL volume in the quarter.
Okay. And when you say it's getting normal in Q2, what run rate are you expecting now this year?
So April and May, the market was affected due to the closure of retail markets in India. So the channel retail and the franchisee workshops, they were closed. So I would say April and May in that part of our business was probably 40-50% was closed in phases. So when we look at June, whatever we have seen in June and also continued, we are back to a normal level which we have been doing in the previous the last 3 quarters of last financial year. So that's the normalcy which is coming, except in the OEM factory fill, which is 5% of our volume, and that is based on new vehicle production, mainly commercial vehicles. We have some OEMs. That is still to pick up. Otherwise, 95% of the business we are seeing it's tracking back to the normal level which happened in the last 3 financial quarters of last financial year.
And is it a fair assumption to have now that you are back to your 15 to 18% guidance for your EBITDA margin? Is that guidance still existing now for the remaining part of the years to catch up to, or are you changing guidance on that at all?
Manish?
So the aim has always been to deliver that margin band which we have been tracking over the last many years now. And as I mentioned, the price increases take a bit of time to pass on because there is a pipeline inventory in the channel. There is a distributor inventory which they carry. There is an inventory at the plant and depot level. So when we actually mean price changes, it means an MRP change for the end consumer. So the old stock in the pipelines are still sold at the old rate. So that takes a bit of time in terms of overall. But yes, the overall direction we are tracking is still the same. With a little support, of course, we are seeing now that the input cost has stabilized at these higher levels and it's not going up further. For the last 1.5 months, we have not seen further increases in base oil. So that all should also augur well overall.
Okay. Can I ask one more, or is it okay if I ask one?
Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I think the only other question I had is on. I saw in your notes that you have done some amendments to your clauses there to get into more EV space and infrastructure space on the EV side and battery charging. What's the thought process out there? I know you have some investments in UK that you did recently.
Yeah.
But where are we going as a...
So you see, we've as you know, we have made the investment along with our parent company, Gulf Oil International, a company called Indra Renewables, which is into charging for the UK market, and also, of course, we are testing their products here. So in terms of the EV value chain and mobility, we are actually looking at how our brand, our distribution, and of course, we also want to look at if in the value chain there's an opportunity for us. So with this amendment, obviously the focus is there. We want to make it more sharper. There are studies on to look at where our brand distribution and obviously looking at electric vehicles will be coming in various segments. What can Gulf do? And chargers, we are already trying to see if the chargers we can get in. Also with this, we are being approached by various people because we have a very good distribution network in terms of our bike stops, our outlets, our relationships, and our brand is also very strong. For example, in not only in the motorcycle segment where we are number 2 in the bazaar, overall as a brand, Gulf in the mobility segment is known. So some of these things we are going to think about, and once we are clear on where we are going and the board approves, we will of course share with everyone.
Okay. So no capex as of now, right? No specific capex plan for this in this year.
No, right now the studies are on. So once we get them to some sort of planning and a proposal, then obviously we would table all those in due course.
Thank you again. My questions are done. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants: anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Nitin Tiwari from Yes Securities. Please go ahead.
Yes, please. I'm taking the opportunity to ask a question because I just want to stay on that point on EV that you just mentioned. So if you can just help us understand in terms of opportunity size that is there other than EV, perhaps what we are looking at in next decade in terms of two-wheeler and four-wheeler vehicle park and what is the opportunity size over there and how are we gearing up to prepare for that?
Manish, you want to take that?
So, Nitin, thank you for this. I think we have done a lot of internal estimates, and all the reports and other things which are talking about the EV penetration in certain segments. We are still of the firm belief that the lubricant market is going to grow for the next 10-15 years in India. It's not going to start degrowing tomorrow or in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time. It is going to grow because there is a large vehicle park, and there is a newer vehicle park which is being added every day. Even in the month of July, 11 lakh new IC motorcycles have been sold, two-wheelers have been sold, including scooters and motorcycles. So India sells nearly 15 million new motorcycle two-wheelers every year. It's only one segment, and similarly in the other segments, car and trucks. Today the scrappage policy has been announced, so the M&S CV, and there will be a lot of vehicle scrappage which will happen of the old vehicles, which will be replaced by the new fleet, which is auguring again well for the lubricant players like us who are into advanced lubricants. So all these factors make us to believe that the lubricant market is going to grow, and while this is being, and we will continue to get our aggressive stand on the market share gains in the lubricant space. The object clause change, what we are looking at here, and because we want to also participate in the EV value chain, and there are a lot of components around that. In addition to launching definitely a complete range of EV fluids, which is part and parcel of any lubricant company, we will be looking at how to explore more about our distribution, our brand play, and our OEM relationships in that area as well. So overall, I think we are looking at both the sides. Rather, it gives us an additional opportunity to play in certain fields.
Just to add here, Nitin, to what Manish has said, you see, we have got our 95% sale is for replacement lubricants. That means once the vehicle is there, they would be running the truck, running the tractor, running the equipment, running the bike. So the penetration of vehicles per se in India is growing, and of course we have seen a couple of difficult years for various reasons, COVID being one. Now when you look at obviously electric vehicles coming, that will impact the factory fill, the first fill, and of course it will take time for that population to grow. But there is a large enough penetration and growth that is going to happen with the conventional vehicles, and of course you will see that India being the third largest lubricant market all across, whether it's industries, it's automotive, it's the other sectors. The lubricants demand is, even the experts predict that there will be a 2 to 3% demand, which today if 2 to 3 is there, obviously that is because lubricants are getting better in terms of quality, then there are higher end lubricants. So all this augurs well. We believe in the next 10 to 15 years, this will continue to grow. Of course, EV, we will see that, and as Manish mentioned, we are looking at where the value chain will give us opportunities, and hopefully some of these will also fructify for us.
Sure, sir. And just correct me if I'm wrong. We have a very high proportion of CV volumes as well in our portfolio. So I suppose most of that segment would any which ways be insulated from EV. Is that understanding correct?
Yeah, typically if you take the automotive market, 40-45% is diesel engine oils, which go into commercial vehicles and tractors. So there is a similar mix we have, and that continues to obviously grow. As you know, tractors are growing, commercial vehicles expected to grow. So you're right, about 40-45% in that segment is diesel engine oils.
Plus the industrial oils, which are around 20% of the market. Close to 65% of the market in any way is insulated from the overall EV, penetrations.
Right, sir. So, and sir, moving from a longer term growth perspective to a more near term concern of rising base oil prices. So, are we seeing any moderation in base oil price as we move into July and August, and what's the outlook for the rest of the year? If you can help us understand a little bit of that.
So I think, as I mentioned, the base oil prices have not further gone up for the last 1.5 months. They are not coming down as sharply as also, but they have at least stabilized at that level with a downward bias as we speak. So we are not expecting a very sharp correction in the base oil prices as of now. Also, till the time the global supply chain improves in terms of overall, the COVID impact and economies. It's mainly linked to the air turbine fuel also, because if the airlines are flying the air turbine fuel, which is the first cut in the refining process, then refineries will increase their output of overall crude processing, and then base oil supplies will improve as well. So till the time that happens, we are not seeing a very, very sharp correction, but we are expecting also it has fairly stabilized, or it's certainly not going up.
Sure, sir. And so lastly, if you can just give some color in terms of our retail network, where do we stand vis-a-vis the March quarter, and in terms of our retail touch points and distributors?
Manish, you want
I would say that we are at the similar level because the quarter has not given much opportunity to go for the sales team to go in the market. The BTL activities were mostly closed because safety of our employees is of paramount importance. But as soon as the market, people start traveling, the numbers again focus on. But as of now, the object has been to service the demand which was coming in.
Sure, sir. Thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star and 1 at this time. Participants, to ask a question, please press star and 1. Next question is from the line of Vignesh Shetty from FinServ. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. My question is more on the financials. I see your finance cost has gone up this quarter. When I looked at your previous month, I believe in the last quarter you had a cash surplus of around 490 crores. So just wanted a reason on that.
You see, this finance cost for us also includes the foreign exchange fluctuation. During the quarter, the rupee has adversely moved. If I remember, the March quarter closing was around 72.50, and this quarter closed at roughly 74.50. So that had some mark-to-market losses on the foreign exchange that led to the finance cost. That are also the part of finance cost. The amount is roughly around 2.5 crores for the quarter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Praravind, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thanks for the opportunity. I have two questions here. I would just like to understand what is the broad split that we have with respect to the auto and the non-auto space with respect to industrial lubricant in our revenue mix. And within the auto space, do we have a percentage split of how much we cater to the scooters market? Because you understand that the EVs primarily are the scooter market per se, right? So the motorcycle is much more stable is what the studies are saying. Just like to understand that point.
So as we mentioned, in a normal quarter, we have 60% of our sale which is to B2C and 40% B2B. This quarter was 50-50, so 50 was B2C. And B2C is towards the retail side of it, and B2B is where we directly supply. That is on the route to market side. On the products, we have close to, in a normal quarter, roughly 85% of the sale towards automotive products and 15% around industrial products. Within automotive, we have around 36% diesel engine oil, 36 to 40% depending on the quarter. When the agri season is there, it's slightly more. So personal mobility is roughly around 22%. Then we have other gear oil, greases, coolant, brake fluid, all those put together as the rest. But this quarter was slightly lower because as these are retail-oriented products, the diesel engine oil and the personal mobility both put together were roughly around 49-50%, as against their usual around 60% plus. So that's one of the reasons why we highlighted that the margin for the quarter also are looking lower. But as the markets have started opening in June and onwards, we should be tracking the same old ratios which we had.
So Manish, if I can add, I think Pravin, you were asking a question on motorcycle oil. See, 22%, Manish, you mentioned, right? Personal mobility.
Yeah, personal mobility.
Out of personal mobility, 18% is motorcycle out of the 22. That means 4%, right, Manish? Roughly 3-4% will be the passenger car for us. So 18% is the motorcycle, and from the motorcycle, the scooters which are gearless is probably 5% of that. So not 5 out of 18, but 5 out of the total motorcycle. So the scooters, mopeds, because they require different lubricant, that is a very small proportion currently for us. And in fact, we don't do much much of our lubricant to the three-wheeler automotive, the auto rickshaw segment. So just to give you a little bit of granularity, that some of these segments like the three-wheeler auto rickshaw is going a lot into, lead acid electric, lithium ion electric, that kind of thing, battery. So a small proportion of our motorcycle sale is into the scooter.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah, and so I just thought you wanted to know that detail. That's why I just gave you a little more. Yeah.
Yes, definitely that helps. And I just want to understand your outlook for the battery business, right? So, are we looking at scaling it up by manufacturing a plant or something, or is there the current trading will continue?
Yeah. So, Manish, you want to ask?
Yes, so we have looked at localizing the product. Of course, not trying to build up a greenfield plant for that, but we'll be certainly manufacturing it within India as we move forward, and maybe we'll do a contract manufacturing in India with some players. But till the time the import continues, overall the trajectory for this is definitely that we want to grow this business to a very, very decent level.
Okay, so when you say contract manufacturing, that will still be the lead acid batteries, right?
Yeah, that is because these are starting the cranking batteries for two-wheelers and not not for running of the vehicle. So these are basically the startup batteries.
Okay. But there are no other plans with respect to.
You see, we have a brand of motorcycle oils called Gulf Pride. Now that is roughly, we have a good market share and the brand is quite strong. So the Gulf Pride brand is also used for our motorcycle oil and our motorcycle battery. So we can use this brand later on for any type of battery. So that's one of the areas where we'll be also exploring. If you have the future batteries, the Gulf Pride brand can come to play.
Okay. All right. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Saurabh Doshi from Yes Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I just have one question. So what would be the revenue and EBITDA breakup for the battery segment currently?
So for the battery segment, we are clocking now 20 to 25 crore per quarter sort of revenues. And definitely we have turned, as we mentioned in the last con call, we have turned positive on the EBITDA level for this business. For the last few years, we have been nurturing this business, and now we have turned EBITDA positive on the overall battery business.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Hemal, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity again. It's me again. I was the first one. I have one more question I forgot to ask. Your market share, is that this quarter still same like last quarter, or is it, do you think it's improved quarter on quarter?
So Hemal, there is no data available right across every quarter in this industry. So what we generally go by is understanding what others are doing. Of course, the whole market has got many players, as you know. But what we have seen from the growth, the numbers that we receive, and Gulf has been growing 2 to 3x the market growth rate. So if the market has been growing 2-3%, we've been growing many times that. So this continues because we have seen that our growths are much higher than the market growth rate. So I would say that last year we did gain market share because we had similar volumes to the previous year, more or less similar. So our market share gain continues, I would say, in all segments where we are focusing. So without having the data is there with us, but we can clearly confirm to you, yes, we are gaining market share in 90-95% of the segments last quarter also.
The reason I ask is your competitors on their earnings call said that they gained 2% market share.
Yes, we are aware of it. So there are many players in the market, and you see the market segments have many players, not only. So some of the retail audits do give that trend, and in that also we confirm that our market share is gaining a market share. Some of these retail audits come in once a quarter, once in 6 months. So we have also, in our calculation also, we have gained in across our segments.
So approximately, would you be able to say what would be your market share
No, it varies segment-wise. So it would be, offline, each segment has a different play. So we definitely have been gaining because our growth is well above the market growth rate in the last 10 years, 12 years. That's a consistent performance by us. You can see the numbers.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question, press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Manikantha Kare from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Thanks for providing me the opportunity. So after taking 4 price hikes so far, can we take it now that there are no further price hikes required because the base oil prices, as you have mentioned, have more or less stabilized. So Q2, you said the full price impact would be visible. In that context, and because volumes have already improved from June onwards, so can we expect the EBITDA margins moving towards 14-15% in Q2 itself?
You see, what we have mentioned already, all these points, Manikanthan, that certainly positive things have happened, that the volumes are back on track. The rising trend of base oils and other input costs have sort of peaked out, and the price increases we have taken have started flowing in. As I mentioned, the last price increase we took was in June. And for any price increase in the retail segment, for any price increase to fully get material, it takes 1 to 2 months, because of the pipeline stocks and all. So while the full impact may not still be there in this quarter, but definitely from September onwards, we should have that full impact. But in any case, the margin trajectory, because of the various factors which I discussed earlier, should trend towards our targeted band anyways from this quarter itself.
Right, sir. Understand. My second question is with respect to, I think someone has already asked about this, about the memorandum association which was approved by the board with respect to increase our presence in EV value chain. So 2 points intrigued me there. We are also pointing out electric vehicles, SaaS and MaaS, which is, I think software as a service and mobility as a service. So these 3 also are coming from the Indra joint venture, or this is for this you may have to go with some other partner?
So we are looking at a complete spectrum of this e-mobility space, including the MaaS and SaaS. So wherever we will find an opportunity, Indra Technologies is a charger manufacturing company. Right. They make chargers for electric vehicles.
Correct.
So that's their domain, and definitely charger is going to be the part of the overall portfolio for us, and we have already started trying out those chargers in Indian conditions with our first lot arriving this month, and we will test them and we will make them suitable to Indian conditions, Indian power requirements, and then obviously we will look for opportunities to market that in India under Gulf brand. In addition to these, we are looking at series of ideas in our e-mobility space, which is a very currently it's a very dynamic space, but we will see where Gulf, based on its 3 strengths which Ravi has mentioned, of brand, of our distribution network, and of our OEM relationships and customer relationships, where we can play in these fields, we will evaluate, and obviously then we'll put it to the board for their guidance.
Right. So if I understand it correctly, it's fair to assume that we may see some more partnerships, comprising of the other areas of the value chain, right, sir?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so Manikant, just to tell you, you mentioned MaaS and SaaS, mobility as a service and software services also, software as a service. You see all these things that will happen with EV, and as you know also, everybody's been learning about this developing space. You require various software packages, various connectivity for all these things to work together. So that is why, you'll have to be part of the value chain, but still be an integrator. So that is where we think Gulf can have a play. And of course, we are studying this area, and, it would be an area which obviously is developing with as the penetration of EV is expected to be in some form. So right now, even software, mobility as a service, these are areas we want to look at.
Yeah, just to further add, we have, as already been mentioned, that we have a captive network of, let's say, 10,000 plus Gulf bike stops and car stops put together. Now, how much of these can be used for putting a charging infrastructure in these so that they can cater to the EV population is an area definitely we are looking at. All these chargers now coming are smart chargers, so they need a software as a backup to obviously track the battery condition, the usage of battery, even charge per unit on the basis of use. So there are many things which are coming in this field, and there is a complete dedicated task force within the company now to evaluate this spectrum.
Understand, sir. That's helpful. I think just to highlight, there is one startup which I've been tracking, Ion Energy, which is into this SAS and Mars. Maybe you can look into that startup, maybe tying up with them.
Sorry, sir. Thank you, sir. We'll connect
separately on that, and please, we will definitely look at it.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shalabh Agarwal from Snowball Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, sir. So firstly, the breakup which was given earlier to one of the questions, wherein 85% was the automotive. Can the breakup be given again? I think I missed it. Breakup of the automotive.
I have already given the breakup of the automotive further in the earlier question.
So can you give that again? I think 36-40% was CVO. What was the personal mobility, sir?
In a normal quarter, we have around 22% personal mobility.
Okay, so that means the balance, around.
Let me give it again for your benefit. Around 40% is around diesel engine oils, which includes tractors and buses and heavy commercial vehicles, heavy and light commercial vehicles, largely. Of course, there is gensets and there are a few other things as well. Around 22% and to 24% is personal mobility, and around 20 to 25% in depending on the quarter is the other automotive products, which are greases, gear oil, coolants, brake fluids, and all the others put together in that category.
Sure. That's very helpful, sir. Thank you. So secondly, the question on market share, I guess earlier calls you have indicated that in the bazaar segment, Gulf has a market share, please correct me if I'm wrong, in high single digits, I think 7-8%. And if we take the numbers from the market leader, which is around close to 22-23%, which means that the two players have 30% market share. So the balance, all the players have 70% market share, with no single player having more than 7-8% market share. Is that correct assessment?
Yeah, you are more or less correct.
Yeah.
So the retail market has everybody, including the national oil companies.
Yeah. So you see, the retail market, what we call the bazaar, is 200,000 shops in urban, roughly, and rural shops.
Correct.
So these are these independent shops which are selling either lubricants, spare parts, their garages. So in this you are right, where Gulf is a clear number 2 in terms of distribution and market share overall. And of course the other players have slightly less share, some have very low share. So, there are more than 15-20 players, including PSUs, who are there. So that's how really the bazaar market is described.
So even PSUs have much lower market share.
PSUs have share. No, they have share, but their shares are in a different way. They're in the wholesale channel mainly. So we don't have, but they are there. PSUs are there in a good manner.
Okay. And when we say that both the leader and Gulf is gaining market share, is what the retail audit is telling. So that means the market loss is primarily from the PSU?
No, it's very difficult, ma'am, to correlate that because we have a tracker. So yes, there is a loss. Across all the other players if some are gaining. So that happens on and off quarter wise. So yes, shares are coming down. There are also many other smaller players which are not gaining now because of various reasons also.
Sure. And so lastly, because we have a bigger presence in two-wheelers and the passenger car, what will be our share in the two-wheelers specifically?
It should be close to double digit.
So Bazaar, we are close to double digit for two-wheelers, motorcycle oils.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking my question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Debarati, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much. I wanted to understand the ASP spend for the quarter.
So this quarter we have had because last year quarter one was a very low ANP because everything was under lockdown. But this time the markets have been operating and B2B especially was open. So we had IPL and few campaigns as Ravi mentioned. So we had close to 4% of our top line spent as our ANP, which in a normal quarter we used to do anywhere around 5 to 7%. But it came back to 4% as a spend.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vignesh Shetty from FinServ. Please go ahead. Vignesh, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your questions.
Hi. So my question is more in terms of cost management. While I see that the volumes have down, obvious reason was COVID. So I want to understand because I don't see action in terms of cost front. So I just wanted to understand why the costs are still high, or is there any plan to cut it down?
So we have taken series of actions since the onset of COVID last year March. So there have been a series of actions taken for all the controllable costs to be controlled. So obviously there are certain fixed costs in every line item which you cannot cut down. We have 32 warehouses across India. We have regional offices. We have got employee cost. We have got brand building to an extent also. We have restarted. So overall, if you see last year quarter one, we were down to close to 60 crore in terms of other expenses. As the markets have been now this time better, we are back to around 97 crore as other expense as a figure. But overall, in a normal quarter, it is around 115 to 120 crore, like the March quarter. So we are still down in terms of around 15-18 crores on the cost side in this quarter because of obviously the markets were closed and certain activities were not taken up like BTL activities and all. So we are down from the normal other expenses, but definitely higher than last year June quarter because there was ANP, there have been OEM royalties which are also a part of it, and this time the OEM channel did better than last year quarter one.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may please press star and 1 at this time. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to the management for their closing comments.
Thanks to everyone for joining us in this call, and of course, being a late Friday afternoon, really appreciate that. We hope we've been able to answer the questions to the best of our ability, and definitely with the improved market conditions and opening of the retail segment, we are expecting that the demand conditions are returning to normal levels. So we are expecting a robust top line growth, and with the pricing actions taken, the input cost stabilizing, margin levels also should improve, and operating leverage should play in, which should help us to restore our margins soon. And we look forward to that, and of course to your continued support. And please stay safe, and hope to see you in the next quarter call. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Yes Securities, that concludes this conference call for today. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.